So each year, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, I always make a few choices that I want to change this the year ahead. So that could be losing weight, spending more time at home, exercising more. Usually, I don't even get to do any of those things, and usually I only last about 2 weeks with the healthy eating because there's chocolates around the house. But this year has just been so different. Going back, rewinding back 12 months ago, as a growth group, we prayed for my job to be either moved or relocated, which was a huge ask because the company that I'd worked for had been based in Bridlington for 25 years. But I was commuting between 2.5 hours every day, and this was becoming very tiring, very exhausting, and with a lot of long hours that we do in my profession. It was really taking its toll. But God has been really faithful, and fast forward to March this year, we moved into our new offices, which were only 20 minutes away, which was a huge answer to prayer. But then 2 days later, COVID hit and we were all sent home to work. At first, I was excited that I was able to work from home because I'd gained 2.5 hours a day. I was fortunate that I was able to work from home. So from 2.5 hours driving to 30 seconds to my workspace seemed really good. And it was about 3 weeks actually into the lockdown, I actually realised how exhausted and tired I actually was. I have an autoimmune disorder, which I blame a lot for my tiredness, which that is one of the side effects, but also the fact that I was drinking between 10 and 12 cups of coffee a day just to function wasn't really helping. And I was reading one of my Bible plans 3 weeks into lockdown, and it was the story of Mary and Martha. And the question was, are you a Mary or are you a Martha? And we'd all love to say, I'm a Mary, sat at Jesus' feet listening to his stories, but in reality, I'm a Martha. Very much a people pleaser and not taking time to actually sit and receive from God. And it was at that point I realised I was just running on reserves with my faith and just really going through the motions with my faith. It was just really difficult just to function each day. And I made a promise to God that day that I was going to use the time that I'd been given, that where I wasn't having to commute and go into the office. It was like, what are you going to do with this time? So from that day forward, I made a promise to myself and to God that I was going to spend quality time, quiet time with God each day, and also to take time to look at what I ate and look at my exercise. During this time, working from home has been such a blessing. The company I work for, we have been blessed to be very busy during this period, but also it can become a distraction away from my faith because it's just so easy. The fact that I can, as soon as I get up, I can check my emails and get consumed in work, that I can easily miss my time with God. It's making sure we put priorities in place. During this time, as well as a family, we've experienced a lot of family illness. And it's been very difficult when members of family have been in the hospital that we haven't been able to visit. But God has remained faithful through all this. And what God has shown me through this is by taking things to God, God will lead the way. When we try to get involved, we just end up going around the wrong way, getting stressed out. But when you give it to God, God just has a way of just making a way and making things right. And it's just so important to have that quality time with God. A very, very dear friend of mine said some years ago, and it always sticks in my mind, was when you're on an aircraft, the first thing they say is, put your own oxygen mask on first. Until you've put your oxygen mask on first, then help others. Because unless you help yourself first, you're not able to help others. And that's always stuck in my mind about we need to take time, we need to help ourselves first, and then that will allow us to help others. And I believe in our faith, we need to be receiving so then we can give to others. I've also found that our growth group during this time has been just such a comfort. We started meeting 3 times a week initially, right at the very beginning of lockdown. This was just to support one another, just to come together, to pray, just to check in on each other. And we've just found, and we are still finding, the answers to prayer, and God's grace over all of us has just been absolutely unbelievable. And I just really encourage, if anybody who's watching this, if you're not in a growth group, please become part of a growth group, because they're just a community within a community, and we're just there for one another's success. We just want to build each other up and edify. And we usually find when one person is down, we've got other people who will lift them and will lift their eyes to Jesus. I just pray this season for myself and for others about taking care of ourselves. It's sometimes easy just to go onto the mode of helping others when actually we need help ourselves, and it's just about being real and being honest to yourself and to God. And sometimes you just need to pause and actually just spend time with God. For me, spending time with God is just sometimes just sat quietly or on my keyboard or just listening to worship music. Everybody finds spending time with God in different ways, and there's no right or wrong way to do this. And I just pray that 2021, when we move into the new year, that as a church, as a community, that we can find time for ourselves, because I think it's so important. When we do find time for ourselves, we're far more productive and far more we're far more energized to be able to help one another. It's important that we just ask God to renew our minds daily, and to look at how God is going to use us in 2021, and just to pray into different areas of the church that God may be saying, this is where I want to place you, and to be open to that, because at the end of the day, it's God's plan, it's not our plan. And I just really pray that this year we just open our hearts and just look for new ways that God is going to use us in 2021. God bless you all.